This evening, first up, the moment Ghana has waited decades for is almost here. On May 4th, Ghana faces Venezuela before the International Court of Justice over the Essequibo. Attorney General Nandlall says the team is ready. Tonight, what is at stake for every single Guyanese? Then 241,000 Guyanese have already received their $100,000 cash grant, and Minister Ashni Singh says the rollout is far from over. Tonight, learn how to make sure you are not left behind. Plus, a businesswoman walks out of the High Court with a $550 million judgment after alleging she generated over $1 billion in sales and received nothing. Tonight, Narine says she finally feels vindicated. Meanwhile, Ghana declared free of foot and mouth disease, and President Ali tells regional leaders that Guyana is positioning itself to feed the Caribbean within the next decade. Tonight, an ambitious vision on the world stage. And Trump accuses China of secretly helping Iran after U.S. forces intercept the ship he calls a gift from Beijing. China says it knows nothing about it. Tonight, a dangerous new flashpoint between the world's two biggest powers. Those stories and more coming up. Stay with us. Welcome to this broadcast of Channel 2's Headline News Update for April 23rd, 2026. I'm Bibi Bacchus. Thank you for joining us. First up, one of the most consequential legal battles in Ghana's history is about to enter its most critical phase as the International Court of Justice prepares to open oral hearings on the decades-long border controversy between Ghana and Venezuela beginning Monday, May 4th, 2026. Attorney General Nandlall confirmed the development during his weekly podcast, revealing that hearings are scheduled for May 4th to 8th and are expected to extend into the following week. He will lead a team of international legal experts in defending Ghana's territorial rights before the world's highest court. At the heart of the dispute is the Essequibo region, a vast territory comprising more than two-thirds of Ghana's landmass. Ghana brought a case to the ICJ in 2018, seeking confirmation that the 1899 arbitral award, which definitively established the boundary between the two nations, remains valid and legally binding. Venezuela accepted that ruling for over 60 years before declaring it invalid in 1962 and renewing its territorial claims. Referred to the ICJ by the United Nations Secretary General after years of failed negotiations, the case has already cleared a major hurdle, and the court ruled it has jurisdiction to proceed, paving the way for full oral arguments on the merits. The upcoming hearing followed the completion of written pleadings in 2025 and represent the final major stage before a binding judgment is delivered. For a nation that has waited decades for justice, May 4th marks the moment Ghana finally makes its case before the world. On a different note, more than 241,000 Guyanese citizens have already received their $100,000 cash grant. Minister responsible for finance, Dr. Ashni Singh, made the announcement yesterday, noting that the government is pushing ahead with one of its most far-reaching direct cash grant transfer initiatives to date.
As of today, you will be very pleased to know that using those facilities, a total of 216,839 persons have been paid their cash grants directly into their bank accounts.
While there were some issues with the New Building Society accounts, Dr. Singh said they had been resolved. Residents of remote and hinterland communities who may not have easy access to banking facilities have been receiving their cash grants via checks.
We have put in place special arrangements for persons living in remote communities and in the hinterland. And as a result of those special arrangements, a grand total of 241,614 persons have now received their cash grants.
To qualify for the grant, applicants must be Guyanese citizens aged 18 years and older as of February 28, 2026, hold a valid national identification card, digital identity card, or Ghana passport, maintain a bank account in their name at any local commercial bank, and be physically present in Guyana at the time of registration. Citizens can sign up online to have the grant deposited directly into their accounts, while a national help desk has been established to assist those requiring guidance. The help desk can be reached at the telephone numbers on the screen during working hours. Minister Singh also confirmed that additional help desks will soon be established in communities across the country to ensure that more residents, particularly those in underserved areas, can access the registration process with ease. With hundreds of thousands already benefiting, the government says the rollout is far from over and eligible citizens are being urged to register without delay. In other news, a Guyanese businesswoman has scored a major legal victory after the High Court ruled in her favor against Superior Concrete Incorporated, awarding her over $550 million in damages following what she described as the wrongful termination of a business arrangement and the misuse of her commercial assets. Justice Nigel Niles delivered the ruling on Tuesday in favor of Narine, who was represented by attorneys Tani Hustli, Chantel Scott-Lal, and Sidney Fraser. The claims arose from a failed merger and related business arrangements involving significant commercial assets and revenue interests. The court rejected Superior Concrete Incorporated's jurisdictional challenge, finding it was filed well outside the prescribed time frame. Default judgment was entered in Narine's favor, with the court awarding in excess of $550 million on the breach of contract claim, along with interest, costs, and an order for additional general damages to be assessed. The court also declared that certain business equipment is held on trust for Narine, ordering its return within 3 months, and issued injunctions preventing its use, sale, or disposal. Further injunctions were granted to protect Narine's confidential commercial information, and damages for unjust enrichment are to be assessed. Speaking after the ruling, Narine said she felt vindicated, alleging that despite generating over $1.1 billion in sales, she received no profit shares and her character was discredited. For Narine, Tuesday's ruling was not just a legal victory. It was, in her words, a long overdue step towards accountability. Stick around when we return. Guyana eyes net food exporter status as President Ali touts disease-free status, and unauthorized GECOM vessel crash and fire on the probe captain in custody.
Good girl forget things.
What's the problem, Granny?
I want money for borrow for those surgery. I was dancing and I fall and fracture my hip.
If you need some quick money, you should check Lender's Jewelry and Pawn Shop.
Lender's Jewelry and Pawn Shop, Lot 238 South Road Border, Georgetown. Get jewelry made to order in just 72 hours. We also accept vehicles. Lender's, best rates, longest payback period.
Boys, I get through. Plus, I could dance again.
Lender's Jewelry and Pawn Shop.
Welcome back. President Dr. Mohamed Irfaan Ali has positioned Guyana as a key player in regional food security, highlighting its growing role as an agricultural powerhouse during the opening of the 52nd General Meeting of the South American Commission for the Fight Against Foot-and-Mouth Disease in Georgetown. Addressing delegates, the president underscored Guyana's recent designation as free of foot-and-mouth disease without vaccination, describing it as a major strategic advantage for both the country and the wider Caribbean.
Our nation has hosted this distinguished gathering in 2008. Today, we return as a transformed country, a rising agricultural powerhouse, a leader in animal health, and one of the countries in Latin America and the Caribbean along with Brazil, Bolivia, Belize, Dominican Republic, Peru, Suriname, and Chile, which are designated free of foot and mouth disease without vaccination. I want us to applaud those countries for their efforts.
The president said the achievement strengthens Ghana's capacity to supply safe, high-quality meat and dairy products as CARICOM works to reduce its dependency on imported foods.
Guyana's designation as free of foot and mouth disease is more than a veterinary achievement. It is a strategic advantage for both Guyana and the wider Caribbean. It strengthens national and regional food security. It protects livestock industries. It opens valuable export opportunities. And it positions Guyana as a dependable supplier of meat and dairy products within CARICOM.
President Ali warned that global instability is already impacting food systems, citing disruptions in shipping, fertilizer supplies, and livestock trade. He stressed that even a single outbreak of the disease could severely affect food security and livelihoods across the region. The president outlined Ghana's plans to become a net food exporter within the next decade, supported by investments in livestock development, improved diagnostics, and potential vaccine production. He urged regional partners to translate discussions into concrete actions to safeguard the agricultural sector. Moving on, a GECOM vessel involved in a dramatic river accident and fire was on an unauthorized mission, raising serious questions about how the state assets are being used. The Ghana Elections Commission confirmed on Wednesday that the boat, which ran aground in the Barima River near Moro-Hana Region 1 on April 19, was not engaged in official duties and was being operated without permission. Investigations also revealed that none of the 9 passengers on board was affiliated with the commission. According to reports, the vessel struck a sandbank around 7:15 p.m. while en route to Kumaka under poor visibility due to heavy rainfall. The Ghana Defense Force Coast Guard responded swiftly, rescuing the injured passengers who were later transferred to the Mabaruma Regional Hospital for treatment. Hours later, authorities returned to the scene after receiving reports that the vessel had caught a fire. The blaze quickly intensified and could not be contained, leaving the boat destroyed and partially submerged. The captain, a GECOM employee, is currently in police custody assisting with investigations. Investigations remain ongoing as authorities work to determine how the vessel was deployed without authorization and the circumstances surrounding the fire. GECOM has pledged full cooperation with the probe, with officials indicating that appropriate disciplinary or legal actions will be taken once the probe concludes. Don't go away after the break. Ukraine reopens Druzhba's oil pipeline, and UK Prime Minister under pressure. Starmer faces calls to resign ahead of elections.
Good girl forget things.
What's the problem, Granny?
I want money for borrow for those surgery. I was dancing and I fall and fracture my hip.
If you need some quick money, you should check Lender's Jewelry and Pawn Shop.
Lender's Jewelry and Pawn Shop, lot 238 South Road Border, Georgetown. Get jewelry made to order in just 72 hours. We also accept vehicles. Lenders, best rates, longest payback period.
Boys, I get through. Plus, I could dance again. Lender's Jewelry and Pawn Shop.
Welcome back. Now we take a look at what's happening in the region and around the world.
Good evening, I'm Dominic Tins tonight. Guyanese leaders earn U.S. recognition as the nation prepares to mark 60 years of independence. Keir Starmer faced mounting pressure over a controversial appointment. Europe shifts on Russian sanctions, and tensions rise as Washington accused China of aiding Iran. We will begin in the diaspora. Several distinguished Guyanese, including Valerie Amos and Janet Cumming Edwards, will receive U.S. congressional recognition during New York celebrations marking Guyana's 60th independent anniversary. The Diamond Jubilee event, set for June 5th to 7th, will feature cultural activities, a parade, and award ceremony honoring outstanding contributions. Organizers say the celebration will highlight Guyana's progress and the global impact of its diaspora. UK Prime Minister Keir Starmer has been under increased pressure over his appointment of Peter Mandelson as ambassador to Washington. Links between the high-profile Labour figure and sex offender Jeffrey Epstein has caused a major political scandal. Al Jazeera's Jonah Hall reports.
The Royal Observatory in Greenwich. This is the Prime Meridian. It's the line from which the world measures time. And for Labour Party Prime Minister Keir Starmer, the clock is ticking. From winning a thumping majority less than 2 years ago, Keir Starmer is now the most unpopular Prime Minister in 50 years. The past week, among his worst yet, has seen his credibility and judgment challenged in Parliament over the ill-fated appointment as UK Ambassador to Washington of the scandal-prone Peter Mandelson. And his party is now at a crossroads. Local elections are coming, parties on the left and right are closing in. Is it time for Keir Starmer to stand down? Opposition politicians say it is, while voters, even in the London Labour stronghold of Greenwich, are divided.
And I don't think he should resign. I think he should keep going. I think the press and the media have got a bit of a distorted image of him, and he's doing the best he can do, and he should continue doing that, and I support him.
I think he did a relatively good job with the situation in Iran, so I'm prepared to forgive him for the situation with Peter Mandelson. Although I don't think it's I think he could have dealt with it a lot better, but I don't think necessarily that people should be making such a huge deal out of it as they are.
My dad was a really big Labour supporter because they were the working class. Unfortunately, Keir Starmer is not. And he certainly, Labour will never ever get my vote again.
Do you think he should resign? Do you think he should go?
Yeah, definitely, without a doubt.
He should resign months ago.
Definitely.
Truthful.
Because he's useless.
They've not stuck to their policies.
They've not stuck to his policies, has he? Come on.
I mean, obviously, they're going to get absolutely smashed next week or the week after, May the 7th, and cancel elections.
Pressure will likely build ahead of those elections. In Starmer's favour, the absence of an obvious successor; against him, the relentless tide of grim headlines. It feels as if time is not on his side. Jonah Hull, Al Jazeera, Greenwich.
Russia Druzhba pipeline is operating again, sending oil through Ukraine and onto Hungary and Slovakia. The EU has in turn unblocked a loan for Kyiv worth almost $106 billion, along with new sanctions on Moscow. The shift comes after Hungary's pro-Russian government lost elections last week. Al Jazeera's Audrey McAlpine reports.
Wednesday morning, oil began flowing through these pipes, and with it, a crucial $105.6 billion loan for Ukraine and a new round of EU sanctions on Russia.
These three issues have been caught in a kind of standoff since earlier this year. See, Hungary and Slovakia, they depend on Russian oil. They get it from the Druzhba pipeline, which runs from Russia and through Ukraine. When a suspected Russian attack damaged that pipeline back in January, it stopped the flow of oil. Budapest and Bratislava accused Kyiv of stalling the repair, calling it a blockade. And in turn, they used their veto power in Brussels to block the loan and the sanctions package.
The trust has been severely damaged between Slovakia and Ukraine.
With oil and money flowing, once again, these countries remain suspicious of one another.
As far as the ability to keep promises is concerned, under these circumstances, I wouldn't be surprised if the $105.6 billion loan were to be released, and then, shortly thereafter, oil supplies were halted again.
Meanwhile, Kyiv says it cannot guarantee Moscow will not attack the pipeline again. In Russian, Druzhba means friendship, but right now, that's not what this pipeline represents. Audrey McAlpine, Al Jazeera, Kyiv.
US President Donald Trump has accused China of secretly assisting Iran during the war in Iran after US forces intercepted a ship he described as a gift from Beijing. China rejected the accusation, insisting it is a foreign-flagged vessel and that Beijing remains neutral. Al Jazeera's Katrina Yu reports.
In one of the most serious accusations yet, President Donald Trump says the U.S. intercepted a ship headed for Iran, carrying what he described as a gift from China. He didn't say what was on board, but told American media it was something not very nice.
I was a little surprised, but because I have a very good relationship, and I thought I had an understanding with President Xi, but that's all right. That's the way war goes, right?
China has denied the allegation.
To my knowledge, this is a foreign-flagged container ship. China opposes any malicious links and hype.
In recent days, Beijing has intensified diplomatic efforts to end the war, holding talks with leaders from the Middle East and Europe. It's criticized the U.S. blockade of Iranian ports, calling it a dangerous escalation. Before the conflict, about half of China's crude imports were shipped through the Strait of Hormuz, 13% from Iran. China was the biggest buyer of Iranian oil, and those supplies, up to 1.3 million barrels per day, are now disrupted. That stake has raised questions, particularly in the US, about how neutral Beijing really is. In a social media post, former US ambassador to the United Nations, Nikki Haley, said the seized ship was linked to chemical shipments for missiles, and went on, another reminder that China is helping prop up Iran's regime. China's embassy in Washington rejected the accusation, saying it handles military exports prudently and strictly controls dual-use goods.
Chinese officials have been pushing for peace talks and say they support Pakistan's mediation efforts, but they've also been careful to downplay their influence over Iran, saying China is not party to this conflict. Trump's comments about the so-called gift cast a shadow over his planned visit here next month, complicating efforts to stabilize a volatile relationship. Katrina Yu, Al Jazeera, Beijing.
Thanks, Dominique. This brings us to the end of the regional and global news coverage. Up next is the 3-day forecast. And that's it to B2 Headline News for this Thursday evening. As we take our leave, we invite you to follow us on Facebook and YouTube. You can tune in tomorrow at 6:30 p.m. for rebroadcast and 7 p.m. for more news. Until then, please take care of yourselves and each other.